Hello beautiful people, Vicadi here again. Welcome back to my channel where we have great conversations and restore healthy mindset. So in today's video, we are discussing.
I just got back from a date and I have to share. I think I'm done with dating. I can't. I think I finally understand why people settle because this is so horrible and miserable. I just, like, what? Okay, so I went on a date tonight. This guy and I have been talking. He's like, let's do dinner. I'm like, beautiful, let's do dinner. I go to dinner and whatever, you get to a date and you instantly within 3 seconds you're like, nah, this is not it. That was it. Good looking guy, nothing about that. It's more of just like, you just don't vibe, right? And like, whatever. I'm like, you know what, Vanessa, like, give the guy a chance. Let's see how this goes, whatever. Honestly, the date was fine. The interesting part though is so we don't order till really late. We're having a drink, we're talking. We have the food. I barely eat. At this point, I'm like, it's so late. I'm not even like wanting to eat. I'm not hungry, blah, blah. We already had ordered food, but he was like, I really want the chicken. I was like, you know what, dude, like get the chicken. Like, I'm not hungry, but like get the chicken. Like, good for you, get it. Like, okay, great. Now the chicken is here and it's this full meal that neither one of us is gonna eat. I don't touch it for like 10 minutes. He's like, oh, like, are you gonna eat that? I was like, no, like, I'm so full, like, please have it. Fast forward, I am like waiting for the waitress to come. I'm like, just bring us the goddamn check. I am so done. I need to go home. I'm exhausted. I have nothing left to say. Like at this point, I am overhearing the conversation next door because they're speaking in Spanish. I'm like, ¿qué? That's how bored I am right now. But mind you, I'm like trying to be nice and like have a good time, but I really want the waitress to come. She picks everything up and I'm like, you know what? Like, he didn't finish the chicken. Of course, because how much food had we ordered and none of us were hungry, or neither one of us were hungry. I'm like, you know what though? Like, you should take the chicken home. Like, for sure. Enjoy, sir. Enjoy. Okay. But in my head, I'm like, he literally, I've barely eaten. I ate like 2 appetizers. Half of like the 2 or 3 appetizers that we ordered. Like, that's all I've eaten. And he like had this full chicken, right? So the check comes and he just lets it sit there, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, I hate seeing a check sit there because it's just like, so are you paying? Am I paying? Like, what's happening? Like, you're obviously not grabbing it. So, and we're trying to leave. So I grab my credit card and I just put it down, me thinking that this man is going to put his credit card down. He grabs the check and he goes, you sure you don't want to just split it? Like, let's just split it. I had more food than you. And in my head, I'm like, where did you think we weren't splitting it at this point? Like, I put my credit card, if I put my credit card down on a first date, there's not a second, I want to leave, let's go. Like, yes, we're splitting it, let's go. I was like, no, yeah, let's split it. Like, yeah. So he puts his credit card down, but also, sir, you ate most of the food you're taking home. And not only what he was taking home the chicken, he's like, actually, I'll take home the rest of the salad. Like, man has an entire lunch or dinner for tomorrow. I just paid for his dinner tomorrow, apparently. And also, if you're asking me on a first date, to dinner, your idea to go to dinner, have the decency to like treat a girl at least to the first date. Like, and again, I know people are going to come out after me and be like, she just wants to get free food. No, I really don't. I sat down and I was like, this is why I don't do dinner for first dates. I would much rather be at home eating by myself a home cooked meal. I'd be much happier than what I was for the whole night. He's like, oh, how are you getting home? Are you going to take the train? And I'm like, no, it's 11:20. Like, I'm not taking the train. Like, a woman in New York City taking the train at 11:20 on a Tuesday when no one's out? Absolutely. Again, teach their own. For me, absolutely not. So I'm like, no, I'm just going to take an Uber. He's like, oh, like, I mean, I'm actually only 5 stops away, so I'm just going to take the train. And I'm like, so not only am I splitting this dinner with you, you also chose a location that was significantly closer to your house. I am on the Upper West Side. I live in the East Village. So not only did I have to pay for this man's meal, but also for an entire expensive Uber ride home. So, you know, $110 later, here we are telling strangers that I am done dating. Except I realized on my way home that I already agreed to a date on Thursday and a different date on Friday. Why? I have no idea. I might as well just cancel at this point. Okay, bye.
Story time on why you should be really careful about who you're dating. So this is a true story, friend of a friend kind of thing. There was a young girl. She lived in New York City, and she was on a dating app and matched with this young guy. He seemed like a really great person. He had his stuff together, good job, lived local to the area. They talked for a few weeks. Everything was going really great. No red flags, all of that good stuff. He decides to ask her out one night, and she agrees, they end up going to this really nice restaurant. He pays, he's a gentleman, he's nice to wait staff. They wrap up the night, and they both go to their respective homes. And after she gets settled at her apartment, she gets a text from him saying that he lost his key, and he's trying to get a hold of his roommate. His roommate isn't home, but his roommate is also not answering. So he's kind of like stuck outside of his apartment. Just sort of like telling her that, and she just kind of figures, all right, I'll invite you over. So, maybe give him a little bit of time to figure out what's going on, either find his key or get in contact with his roommate. So he comes over to her apartment, and they have, a really nice chat. They sit on the couch. Finally, she decides that she's going to go to bed. She doesn't know why, but she goes into her own bedroom, which has a door, and she ends up locking it. And it's just one of those things that she felt like she needed to do, which I totally get. Like, new people in your space. Sometimes it's nice to just be extra cautious. So she goes to her bedroom, she locks the door, and he's sleeping on the couch. Around 3 a.m, she wakes up to a knocking on her door. It's her date. And he asks her if she has a cell phone charger because his cell phone is dead and he needs to charge it. This is the part where it gets like really crazy. So she tells him that she has one and it's on the kitchen counter. And she just tells him this through the door. She doesn't get up. She doesn't unlock the door. She doesn't go and find it for him. And I'm thinking to myself, if this was me, I would totally get up and grab it for the person and give it to them and then be like, all right, anything else? Good night. He says thank you. He goes, he grabs the charger, whatever. She doesn't know. She just goes right back to sleep. A few minutes later, he knocks on the door again. He said it's not working. And does she have one in her room? At this point, she's thinking that there's something up. She decides to call the police, which, once again, good for you, girl, for having the instinct to connect with the police. The police show up to the apartment. They knock on the door. She hears some commotion going on. And then she gets a knock on her bedroom door, because mind you, she hasn't come out this entire time. And it's a police officer. And he said, we've cleared the apartment. We have him in custody. We really need you to come out of your room so you can take a look at your apartment. She opens the door and walks out, and she sees that her entire living room is plasticked. And there is a set of power tools sitting on the floor. This girl, because of her instinct to not open the door to a weird request for a phone charger in the middle of the night, saved her. Before you decide to take someone home or let them stay at your place, think twice about it.
I'm going to try to condense this, put it at 2 times speed if it's easier for you to digest that way. But what I'm about to share, I think, is really important. Most importantly, I just wanted to make this for anybody that is currently going through something like this or has a friend that is going through the situation I'm about to tell. And I just think it's important. So I have a friend who got out of a very long and pretty bad relationship with an ex who was interested in the realm of online dating. She had taken a year to kind of recenter, do the mental inventory that she needs to do to feel secure, to feel happy without a partner. And she was ready. She was ready to find someone new, to be single, just to experience something she hadn't for the last 8 years. Long story short, she matches with this guy. They exchange numbers, and it was pretty quickly that he would text her. He would text her a lot. And, you know, for it being so new, I think understandably so, she liked the attention. She felt seen. She liked being complimented by someone she found was attractive. But it would get to the point where even around holidays, he would just blow her up. He'd ask, you know, what are you doing? Like, where are you? Like, just over and over, even when she was with family. And it got to the point where she was like, I need you to chill out. So he seems to take it okay. And New Year's comes around. And at this point, it had only been a couple days since they had each other's numbers. But something that I found was really odd and just weird was that he would text her and say stuff like, well, you're not allowed to kiss anybody tonight. You can only kiss your mom or your dad. Like, hello? But again, my friend, like, kind of pushed it aside and was like, oh, whatever. Maybe he's just, like, quirky. Now, me being me, I told her, I was like, I think it's really weird, you know? At least in my personal experience, I've only matched and met up with one person on a dating app, and I just kind of told her that you have to take precautions, and it can be harder to see warning signs when you haven't experienced them yet. So the texts move to calling, and I'll tell her that he just wants to talk for a short amount of time. The calls end up being hours, and, you know, I think once she got on the phone with him, she felt a little bit more comfortable, and she was excited to meet this guy. So they finally set a time to meet up, and I tell her, I'm like, I need you to share your location with me the entire time. You know, if you feel uncomfortable at any point in time in the date, you don't have to make an excuse. You don't have to say anything. You can just leave. In all honesty, I think she thought that I was being like too overprotective, but as a friend, you know, I'm sure people will understand this. Like, you have to have your friends back. So the date goes well, and she calls me later and is just so excited. She tells me that he paid for the date, they had good conversation, and that they were planning to meet up with each other pretty soon. And, you know, I was happy for her. Like, it's something that she has been really wanting for a while. A couple days later, she meets up with her therapist, and her therapist tells her, you know, that the love bombing, it's a red flag. Like, it's not necessarily normal, and it's something that you need to take into account. You know, it may seem so small, but in the bigger scheme, it could lead to something worse. She ended up, again, brushing that aside, and she ends up meeting with him again. The date goes well, and she tells me that he asks her, you know, are you seeing anybody else? And she says, well, no, but I'd like to keep my options open. I want to get to know you for at least 3 months. At this point, it had only been literally like 8 days. And something that she told me, which I, again, thought was weird, was that he kind of was not happy with that answer and said, you know, I only date one person at a time, and I don't like knowing that you're talking to a bunch of other guys, but, like, I get it. And in my mind, I'm like, you barely know each other. How are you coming to this conclusion? Fast forward to a week, she meets with her therapist again. She explains the date and says it's going well. And her therapist is like, well, have you even Google searched this person yet? Like, you don't know this person. Have you taken the time to look? So she calls me because she is actually on her way to meet him again and asks me to do the searching. So I do. And of course, I find that he had a couple of priors. He had been arrested for DV, for stalking, and that he had a restraining order. She brings it up to him. He completely lies about it. He says it's fabricated, false, that it's made up, that he was framed, And against her better judgment, she meets up with him again. At this point, I am flabbergasted. I feel sick to my stomach. And I had told her, I had said, you know, way down the line, I had an ex that was also physically abusive. And I tried to explain to her that these aren't just easy things to be charged with. There has to be proof. At this point, I am going full throttle FBI mode. I am literally spending 8 to 9 hours trying to find more information, trying to do what I can, because I know if I don't show this person physical proof, she's not going to believe it. And I do. I find proof. I find other girls that had had similar experiences with him. He tried to lie and say that the charges were dropped. They weren't. And at this point, it's the next day, and I call her, and I'm like, I need you to sit down. I need to tell you this information. So finally, it gets through to her, and she decides to call it quits with this man because he is dangerous. The things that were found were terrifying. If you do not have a good feeling about somebody, listen to that feeling. Be that friend that looks out for other people that are blinded. Sometimes people won't listen. I've had experiences where it has ruined friendships, but if you love somebody, you will be honest with them.
Y'all, when I tell you, trigger warning, there is going to be some wild things said and discussed in this video, because what I'm about to tell y'all about is literally mind-blowing. Like, I know they said the dating pool got a little bit of pee in it. Baby, this is acid. This is acid in the pool, okay? Run. Before I get into this story, I just want to say I've already contacted the police. I just feel like I need to tell this publicly because I do feel concerned for my safety. And this person clearly wants attention, so I'm going to give them the attention that they're so desperately looking for. 2 weeks ago, I went on a date with a man named Jerome King. Jerome messaged me on social media. I'm assuming that he's followed me for a while. I did not become aware of him until he messaged me a couple of weeks ago. He asked to take me on a date. Me being newly single, you know, clearly unadjusted to what's out here in the world. But I decided, sure, why not? I know that I have a large social media following. I'm not the type of person that's super caught up in that, but I forget that not everybody feels that way and not everybody recognizes that social media is just a number and people are just people. Jerome suggested that we go to Nikki Beach or Komodo, which if you're not from Miami or familiar with, both of those are really nice restaurants. Nikki Beach I was already familiar with, Komodo I was not. So we initially decided to go to Nikki Beach, but it rained that day, so we changed our plans and decided to go to Komodo. Once we got to Komodo, you know, overall, I would say I had a decent time. There were some things that happened that I was a little concerned about, but at the end of the day, it's a first date, so it's not like I'm going to be like super picky about these things. You know, I feel like we're just supposed to be getting to know each other, having some fun, enjoying each other's company. And for the most part, I did enjoy his company the first time that we hung out. After we finished eating at Komodo's, he suggested that we go to a bar around the corner. So we did. I told him that it had to be fast because the valet was going to end and I had my car in valet. He said it was going to be fast. We end up going to the bar. You know, while we're at the bar, he's saying some things to me, you know, that indicate to me that he's very interested in me, such as, you know, he wants to give me 3 kids and like he's, you know, just a lot. He did try to kiss me and I politely turned to the side of my cheek because, you know, I'm just a lady. I'm a Southern Belle. You feel me? Like I come from a different era, cut from a different cloth. I'm a grown woman. You feel me? Like, so I just feel like, you know, let's take things slow. Let's like navigate at a pace that makes sense. You know, I'm not trying to rush into anything. And I expressed all these things to him. I told him, you know, please just respect me as a lady. You know, we'll get there eventually if we do continue to talk to each other, but let's just take it slow. He seemed like he was okay with that, even though he did try more times throughout the night. Anyway, so after we leave the bar, we go to get my car out of valet. He kindly pays for the valet, and then he asked me, could I take him home? So since he had just paid for the valet, he paid for the date, you know, I didn't see any problem with taking him home, so I decided to take him home. It was my birthday, so when we get there, he's like inviting me up to come for a little bit. I'm really apprehensive about it because I didn't want to give the wrong impression by going up to his apartment, but he really wasn't really trying to take no for an answer. And I was just like, okay, you know what? I can come up for a little bit. So I go up to his apartment. We hang out for a little bit, but when I tell y'all, it was like literally so brief and so chill. He had a nice view of the city, so we kind of like was on the balcony, we was chilling, whatever. I want to reiterate that there was literally no sexual conduct between me and him. There was not even like a kiss on the lips. There was not any of that. Like, it was cool though. We had good vibes. Both of us seemed to enjoy each other's company. When I left, everything seemed to be good. It is what it is. Now let's go ahead and get into these messages, because this is where I need to like pick y'all up and get y'all in the speed. Because when I tell y'all, just hold on, this is gonna take a turn for more than the worst. After the date, he's texting me. He's telling me that he feels very blessed and lucky that he got the opportunity to meet me, that he respects me, he wants to support me in my life, and then he told me happy birthday the next day. So when I woke up, I told him good morning, thank you. We had took pictures that night. Like, it was like a real goofy fun time or whatever. But the pictures came out bad, and he was like, I should have put the flash on. So I was just like, at least we got them for memories. He was like, yeah, I love them. I can't wait to see you again soon. And I told him I'm excited to see you again too. So after this, he went on a vacation for like a week and some change. You know, I knew he was going on the vacation, and so I didn't really reach out because I knew that he was on the vacation. Also, I just feel like if you're interested in a woman as a man, like, the man is the pursuer, you feel me? So even though we did have a decent first date, I'm not going to like exert a lot of energy into chasing you as a man, because that's just like not who I am naturally, you feel me? So I don't really reach out while he's away. But while we were at our first date, he was saying that he was already planning our second date. Like, we were supposed to go on a date the Saturday that he got back. He got back on a Friday, which was yesterday. So literally before this man left, he was like, don't go to Nikki Beach until I get back so we can go together the Saturday after I get back. These were his words that came out of his mouth. So Friday, I texted him and said, safe travels today. Literally, that was the first time we had spoken since our date. Super chill, yeah. He responds back, he's like, thanks, boo. I don't respond to that, you know what I'm saying? No, I don't feel no type of way or anything. I just didn't see any reason to respond. He texts me again and he says, let's chill when I get back. So I asked him, are we still on for Nikki Beach tomorrow? He says, yes. I said, yay, I'm excited. He says, me too, I miss you. Now, at this point, this is when everything goes fucking left. One thing about me, like, I like to be very genuine in dating. You feel me? I feel like a lot of people try to love bomb. They try to like gaslight each other into a relationship, into a situationship. And I'm just not with that. Like, I'm all about like genuine honesty, transparency, etc. And the reason I say that is because I'm like, okay, you don't really miss me because you've been on vacation for a week and a half and I haven't heard from you. Like, you know, even us talking right now was because I hit you up and said safe travels, you feel me? Now, I didn't take that as that he was not interested in me. Like, I didn't feel that way at all. I just felt like, I mean, you don't really miss me, because if you miss me, you would have reached out. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. I feel like you shouldn't miss me. It doesn't matter. Like, we only went on one date. I don't really care, you know? But what I do care about is just being like genuine. You know what I'm saying? Just being straightforward. We don't have to like love bomb each other into something that is not. So I say all that to say that at the time I didn't respond because I really didn't know how to respond to that message without being inauthentic. So he texts me today and is like, hey, I tell him, hey, sorry I didn't get back to you yesterday. I was working last night. Now, honestly, I wanted us to have the conversation about the I miss you thing in person because I felt like communicating through text, it can get a little tricky. But he responded back, K, which let me know that he felt some type of way about the fact that I didn't respond yesterday. So I was like, okay, you know what? I guess we just should have the conversation now. Get it over with. It's no big deal. So I text him back. I say, also, I didn't really know how to respond to your message since I hadn't heard from you in a while. That apparently was the worst thing that I could have ever said. So let me let y'all know now, it's going to be a lot of text messages, a lot of audio messages, a lot of things coming after this. So he responds and says, you don't know how to respond? What message? American women so crazy. I took you to a nice ass restaurant and you saying you don't know how to respond, but you responded with Nikki Beach. That means you're not really interested. I said, that got really aggressive out of nowhere because what do you mean American women? Like, where did all of this fresh and fit talk come from, okay? You said that you missed me, but I haven't heard from you the entire time you were gone, so I didn't know how to respond. I had a great time before, and I was looking forward to getting to know more about you, but I'm definitely not interested in this behavior. Because once you start saying certain keywords, certain little, terms, that lets me know what you be watching, what you be on. And honestly, there were some signs. There were some signs, and I ignored them. I'm not going to lie to y'all, but we're taking it too far. But baby, little did I know, Jerome was just getting started, okay? He was just getting started with me. He responds, "You're not interested in me at all. I have not heard from you either. You could have texted me too. It goes both ways. I feel like you just want me for a free meal. I'm not interested in that behavior. I want someone to have fun with without having to spend a bunch of money every time." And then she says she's not interested. So I say, I was the one who texted you safe travels and started the whole conversation. You suggested both the restaurant and Nikki Beach, not me. And the first time I don't respond, you insult me. I'm sorry that you clearly had negative experiences in the past, and I hope that you find what you're looking for. And at this point, I feel like this is a nice, even break because I can already see the road this is going. So I just decided to kindly invite him to the block party in my phone and let that be that. But he said, "No, ma'am. No, ma'am, I'm not done with you, okay?"
Guys, I've been unintentionally gatekeeping this story, and now it's time. About a month ago, I went on a first date with a man I had met on Hinge. We'd been talking for like almost a month before we went on this first date. On our first date, he told me he had been separated for 2 years and divorced for 2 months, which felt a little quick to me. Yeah. I shared with him that I had been recently love bombed and that I was like really trying to slow things down on the dating front and take things really slow because I learned my lesson. Right after the first date, next day, he immediately asked me on a second date. I'm like, no, don't want to move too quickly. Ask me on a date for the next day. No, don't want to move too quickly. Tuesday comes around. He's like, do you want to go on a date tomorrow? Meaning Wednesday. I was like, look at you planning in advance. Let's do it. I said yes to Wednesday. I had plans that Tuesday night to go over to a friend's house for a going away party. And he texted me and was like, hey, I can't wait until tomorrow to see you. Do you want to just grab quick drinks before your going away party? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So we go out to drinks at this awesome spot in DC. And while we're sitting there, we're having normal conversation. And I'm joking about the fact that he is 36 because I always find myself dating people in the age range 34 to 36. It's just like my sweet spot. And he's like, well, actually, I have to tell you something. I'm actually 39. My age is wrong on my Hinge. And I was like, do you think I'm stupid? If you got divorced 2 months ago and that's when you made your Hinge, you were lying. If you made it back when you were 36, you were cheating on your wife. So what? Also, I'm pretty sure your Hinge updates every year, like as you get older. Like I'm pretty sure it changes by itself. So I was like, what the fuck? That's so weird of you. I literally demanded he show me his physical ID because I thought that was so weird. And I was really creeped out. And honestly, I should have been out then. So I see his ID, he's actually 39, and I say to him, this is so weird of you. There's no good time when you're dating girls on Hinge to tell them that you're not the age you put on your profile. Like you could tell them in that first message, or you could tell them like when on your wedding day, and no matter what, that's fucking weird of you. Like that's never gonna be a normal conversation that girls are just okay with. Like just make it your regular age. Obviously you're trying to show up on Hinge for like young women who you can whatever. Anyway, so we finish drinks, we kiss, it's a good time. He goes home, I go to my friend's going away party. And I pose a question to the group. I'm like, hey, he lied to me about his age. It feels kind of sus. What does everyone think? My best friend, who was right, is like, get out of that situation. That is freaky, girl. But all my other friends at the party were kind of like, oh, you're just collecting data. Like, that's a first data point. Like, yes, that's concerning, but why don't you collect more data and see how you feel about the guy? Because at the time, I really liked him. We had great chemistry. He was super attractive. Like, we just vibed. But also, like, maybe part of that vibe and part of why that was exciting is because I could sense, like, something was off, or, like, we had that chemistry because, like, there was that excitement and spark. But, like, a lot of the time, like, good, healthy relationships start, like, more of a slow burn, or, like, with a friendship. Like, I should have known that that spark was indicative of, like, there's something wrong here. So now it's Wednesday. It's time for our pre-planned date. And the first 2 dates he had come into DC for me. He lives in Maryland. So I said, hey, I'd be happy to come out to Maryland for you. I feel badly that you're always coming to DC. And he was like, well, you don't have a car. And I was like, I have a Metro card. And have you ever heard of the app Uber? Or do 36-year-olds not know about Uber? He was like, oh, I have a surprise for you. Be ready at 7. Me, having watched every fucking rom-com, was like, this is so cute and romantic. I'm so excited. Dumb, dumb, dumb. So he comes, he picks me up in his car. I'm like, wow, this is like a real date. He's picking me up, he's driving me to the place, and it's all a surprise. I don't even know where we're going. He takes me to this restaurant in DC called Mercy Me. Food was incredible. And I'm like, thank you so much for dinner. Like, was this a surprise? And he's like, no, I have one more surprise. This man proceeds to say, oh, I have to work in Arlington tomorrow. So I decided to spend the night in DC so I don't have to schlep all the way from Maryland to Arlington for work at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Spending the night in DC, got a hotel room. But what he didn't do was ask me to stay over with him. Like, he's that good. Like, he didn't ever explicitly ask that. He made me think it was my decision. So dinner ends, we like go to a bar, we grab a couple of drinks. I'm not even drinking. I'm literally like dead sober and I made these decisions. But we walk out of the restaurant. He's like, do you want me to drive you home or do you want to come up to my hotel room? And I was like, I could use a hotel room tour. I go, hotel room tour, one thing leads to another. Take that as you will. Probably wasn't my best call. Anyway, I wake up in the morning at my own house. I'm on a high. I'm like, last night was so amazing. He's texting me. I'm like, we're getting married. But then I'm sitting there and I'm thinking really hard about it. And where he lives in Maryland is like 30 minutes from me. And Arlington is like 20 minutes from me. And I don't understand logically why someone would get a hotel in the city to not have to drive an extra 20 minutes in the morning. Something's not adding up. My spidey senses, something was wrong. My gut, women's intuition, something was off. I start thinking, I offered to come to his. He lives in his own house. I, live in a house with 3 roommates. The only reason I wouldn't want someone to come to my house would be if I was still living with my wife. So that activates the crazy in me. And I go to the internet and I pay for a background check, $25. Highly recommend doing that. Honestly, do it before your first dates. I should have done it way, way back. And I find every single thing about this man, right? Like his entire family, every address he's lived in since his college dorm, every traffic citation he's ever gotten, every piece of dirt on this man. And you know what isn't there? Divorce papers. So I start freaking out. I'm like, why are there no divorce papers? Could they be sealed? Like, are divorce papers even public record? I've never been divorced. I call the Maryland County court system and I ask them, hi, do you have any divorce records under his name and his wife's maiden name? They don't have any. I say, can you tell me if there's a sealed record under either of their names? They say, yes, we can tell you if there's a record, but we can't tell you what's in it. I said, awesome. Do you have records under either of these names? No records in the state of Maryland. I contact my family friend who's a lawyer. I say, hey, do you have to get divorced in the state where you're living? And they said, yeah, you have to get divorced in the state where either you or your partner is living. And I had both their names on the lease of their home address from my background check. I knew they both lived in the state of Maryland since 2012. If they had gotten a divorce, it would be in the Maryland court system. So I'm realizing this man is married. So what do? I go on Facebook and I post in the Are We Dating the Same Guy DC Facebook group. I say, hey, this is Danny. And I include a picture of him. I say, he lied about me to his age. Something feels sus. I tell the whole hotel story and ask anyone if they know anything. Within an hour, my post is blown up. Hundreds of women commenting how sus the hotel thing is and that it's happened to them before. He's definitely married and cheating. A couple hours later, a comment comes in. Hi, I'm the wife. Call me. So I pick up the phone and of course the first thing I say is, I'm so sorry I'm sleeping with your husband. And she proceeds to tell me the craziest story I've ever heard in my entire life. Here's the thing though. This is her story of her experience with that man. And I recognize that's not necessarily my story to tell, so I'm going to be very conscientious of the details I choose to include, and I would ask that you please respect that. She goes on to tell me that he's cheated on her hundreds of times with at least 20 different women. They still live in the same house, which is, my intuition was right, but in separate bedrooms, and they're not together, they're technically separated. I asked why they weren't divorced yet, and she said he doesn't want to get divorced. Guess what? She knew about me. She said he told her that he was going on a date with me, and he even recapped it after. Not only that, but he was literally talking shit about me. He told her I was crazy and I talked too much. Arguably true, but screw you. But she also told me in that week that we had gone on our first 2 dates, he had also slept with 3 other women. For the last 8 years, he's been sleeping with one woman in particular, which is actually what his job in Arlington was. And they first started sleeping together when she was 19 years old, and he would sneak into her parents' house to hook up with her. He's incredibly abusive, controlling, manipulative. In all seriousness, I cannot recommend strongly enough to stay away from this man because he is very convincing, and even I was swindled. And let me tell you, in this moment, I felt so naive. I was really hard on myself. I felt really guilty and really dumb. How could I let myself be in that position? And honestly, really scared. Like, I was in a room with this man in private, and now hearing that he has done all of these things, like, I put myself in a really dangerous situation, and I don't want anyone else to put themselves in a situation like that, because in retrospect, that's really, really scary, and I could have gotten really hurt. And I think the other thing about this that I've taken away is that I'm feeling really jaded, because how can I ever go on a date again? I talked to this man for a month. We went on 3 dates. I really felt like I had started to know his character and his intentions, and how can I ever trust someone again after this experience? I've paused all my dating apps. Like, I will not be dating for the foreseeable future.
Abuja men, they are actually very different. So that's how I was on my own, jejely. I went to get skincare products, right? So on getting there, I picked everything I wanted, and I was by the counter. I was about to pay 63,000 and some hundreds on top. So by the counter, there was this cute looking guy. He looked very fine. He wore a very simple outfit, and his nails were so clean. So they were like, oh, they should add my bill to his own that he would like to pay for me. I was like, oh, that's so nice of him, thank you so much. And he was like, okay, that I look so pretty and all that can we be friends? We should exchange contacts. I was like, okay, that's fine, let's exchange contacts. And he paid for mine, and then I left, right? Later that evening, he called. I looked so pretty, and he would like to make friends with me. What do I do? How old am I? You know, we talked a little. I was like, to go on a date with me. I should pick a day. Let's go on a date. I was like, okay, that's fine. Now, if you're a lady, anything date, you should have what is called vex money. So I made sure that any dates I'm going, the previous dates that I've been going, you see this thing they call vex money. I don't used to play with it. Order for what is more expensive, like something that is expensive than what you have in your account. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So I had my vex money. That vex money now can cover my boat fare and anything I order. Now that is very important. We ordered and we started eating. We were like still talking, getting to know each other properly. Almost like done, and it was not like, oh, so after the meal that I'm going to sleep over at his place, right? I'm like, in my head I was not like thinking, why is this guy comfortable telling me, like, saying that after here I'm going home? It's not like he's asking me. Noise in my environment is so crazy. Okay, so let me be fast. I told him that, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't sleep over at your place. I don't even know you, like, I'm not comfortable. Immediately, this guy switched up his mood. Now that I'm thinking about the whole thing, right, it's so funny. So, it's not funny as at that time, right, because I could see the angry disappointment on his face.
Okay, here's a little dating horror story for you guys. So one time I was dating this guy, and I was at his place, and we had a couple of glasses of wine, and I drove to his place. So he was like, okay, well, you're not going to drive home now, so you can stay the night. And at this stage, like, we'd never had a sleepover before. It was time to go to bed, and we were in the bathroom brushing our teeth, and then all of a sudden he stops brushing his teeth, and he goes, oh, wait, before you stay the night, there's one thing you need to do. And I was like, random? Yeah, what is it? He points to the scales and goes, step on that. And I stood there like mortified. I was like, what? Like, is there a weight restriction? Like, do I have to make sure my BMI is in the green to be allowed to stay over the night? Like, what?
These experiences are wild. The guy that brought hard tools to someone who gave you shelter. This girl gave you shelter, and you brought hard tools to her house. What was his mission? I'm really glad she trusted her intuition. If you haven't seen part 1, I attached a link to part 1 in the comments. Make sure you watch and comment. It also has different stories of ladies who share their worst dating experiences. Now, some of these stories might sound funny, while others are creepy, right? But the whole purpose of me putting these worst dates experiences together is to remind women to trust their guts and intuition. Our intuition is strong as women. We are blessed with this powerful gift of intuition. If something feels off, always trust your guts and get out at the first red flag. I've said this before and I'm saying it again. When someone shows you who they are the first time, Don't go making excuses for them. Don't go saying, maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe this, maybe I'm just getting to know him. Believe who they are, because they will show you worse. Trust your gut. If you've ever had any worst dating experience, I want you to inspire somebody today. Please share your worst date stories in the comments. This channel isn't just about posting videos. It is a growing community where your thoughts matter. So by hitting subscribe and like, you're not just clicking buttons, you're joining a space where your thoughts matter, where you matter. Hit that subscribe button now and turn on the bell so you can always see my videos and make wholesome conversations. So guys, drop your thoughts in the comment sections. What do you think about these experiences? Do you think the ladies were just ignoring the red flags? Do you think they shouldn't have even given a chance to the men? And then if you've also had any worst date experience, please inspire somebody today. Drop your experience in the comment section. Save a life. Remember to drop your thoughts respectfully. We do not disrespect anybody over here. If you want to talk, you can air your opinion without disrespecting anyone, okay? And if you also know someone who would like to be part of this conversation, share this video to them. Share this video to someone you want to be part of this conversation, because that is what we do over here. We have banging conversations all the time. You can see other videos and join the conversations. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you again tomorrow with another video.